Hello, this is Melissa. I am here to talk to you about our Patreon page. This is a page that you can go to and give us a monthly donation as you listen to our podcast, and you can get bonus content such as getting episodes early, getting bonus episodes, and a bunch of other things. Eventually, we'd like to do some t-shirts and so much more. So if you're interested, no pressure, you can go to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/messybunmamas podcast. Again, that's patreon.com/messybunmamas podcast. In a fitting manner, there is a coffee membership, a cold brew membership, and an espresso membership. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on that page, and thank you so much for listening.
Messy Bun Mamas. I'm Joe. I'm John. I am Malcolm. Wow.
Hello.
Hey everybody, it's Michelle
And Melissa
with the Messy Bun Mama podcast. We are here for episode number
12.
Holy cow, I had to actually think about it. Oh my goodness, 12 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy, hey?
It is crazy.
I know we say this like every week when I'm reviewing our podcast or the episode. I'm like, we say this every week. It's
that
crazy.
when we talk about how funny we are. We do. We're just like, we sit around, which, I mean, maybe you don't notice if you don't listen like back to back, but like, we'll start every episode with like, we're so hilarious. We love listening to ourselves.
do.
And I'm just like, wow, we sound really like, full of ourselves.
We sure do. I did notice that. But whatever.
We are hilarious, so it's totally fine.
We're just pointing out the truth.
It's true.
So this is again episode 12, and today we're going to talk about manners, teaching manners to your kids, the thank yous, please, thank you, that type of thing. But first, let's listen to this
This week's Mama Moments.
This week's Mama's Moment. What do you got, Melissa?
Okay, so I had a girl last. I had a Belinda.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had 2 boys. And then I had a girl. And my Mama Moment this week is just some appreciation for my girl. She was sitting on my lap yesterday, and I actually took a picture of the back of her head because, like, so Rayla's definitely a Spitfire, and like we try. I know I've talked about it before. We try really hard to like do her hair every day,
Mm-hmm.
and it's getting to the point where like we can put it up in a ponytail, and like the back will kind of fall out a little bit, but like it's up in a ponytail, and like so my view of her sitting on my lap was like the back of her head.
Aww.
Which seems like such a silly thing. Like, okay, the back of your kid's head, like what's the big deal? But I guess because she's my daughter, and I think it helps so much because of the relationship that I have with Belinda, because like Belinda and I are close. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're definitely like friends, whatever. She's 18, judge me, I don't care.
Right.
It's a little bit of a different situation, but with Rayla, it's just like I look at the relationship I have with Belle, and it just makes me excited to watch Rayla grow up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like when I'm with her, I think it's mostly because I had a really hard time connecting emotionally with John. I connected a little bit more emotionally with Malcolm.
Mm-hmm.
But because of COVID, I've been home so much for Rayla
Mm-hmm.
that it's just like, I mean, she's my buddy. She's my baby girl. And I just, the back of her head, it was like such a stupid thing to just like make me want to cry, but like she was just sitting on my lap and like the back of her head with like her messy ponytail with her hair like sticking down, and she just was like, that's where she went. Like if I have a blanket on me, she'll come over by me and crawl up and like snuggle underneath my blanket and like whip the blanket back over herself, and she just like sits there, and it's just like, one day the back of her head, she's just not, I'm not going to have the same view of the back of her head as I do get now. And it's just,
well, it's a cute picture.
Yeah. I'll post it. It's so cute.
You also posted a video of her and John playing
Yes.
this week, which was absolutely the cutest thing ever. I love watching them develop that play and everything.
Yeah. So and maybe I should post that video too. John's in his underwear because we don't wear pants in this house, apparently. But I mean, maybe I'll post that because it definitely, like, they're laughing and screaming at each other, and it is cute.
It was very cute. I love that. All right, so my mama moment.
Yes.
Joe, he's like just a little spitfire. I don't know if it's just because the weather is nicer or if he's just getting
Michelle,
older.
He's a spitfire all of the time.
He's really been testing me the last couple of weeks. But he was being sassy with me. I know I said this like the last episode, but we were sitting I was in the living room and he was in the kitchen dining room area with his dad, and he was asking to play Mario. And I said, no, not right now. You played it last night right before you went to bed. You're not going to watch it you're not going to play it this early in the morning. Go play with your toys. And I don't want to play with my toys. So my standard reply whenever he says that is, okay, well, I'm going to go in there and clear out more than half those toys then, because you don't ever play with them. And no, you can't do that. And I said, then go play with your toys. That little boy, that sweet, precious child of mine that I love with my whole heart, soul, and mind, looked at me and said, Mom, I was waiting for I hate you to come up, because like that was the look on his face. Like his shoulders were all tensed up. He said, Mom, a stink bug is gonna stink on you.
Wow.
He was so
That's some vindictive omen.
Both his dad. And I try not, when he's angry, I try not to laugh because that further irritates him. Yeah. And so but both his dad and I burst out laughing so hard because we were like, man, the insults that I have to start mentally preparing myself. But it was so cute because we do our house just the stink bugs, and then those little orange bugs. They're like the roaches of Wisconsin. I hate them.
Yep.
I hate them. And they're just all over. And the stink bugs, especially, like army crawl, sneak up on you, and they just freak.
And they're just so solid. Like they're just
gross. Ugh. Yes. I learned a lot of information, more information that I would ever really care to know about them this week. But because we were wondering what they eat. Like, why do they like our house?
Yeah.
So, but Joe really hates them. So you know that must have just been like the biggest insult he could think of. Oh, God bless him. I can't wait for it to get much warmer and we can just be outside and wear him out. We have just been butting heads, and I'm sure I'm sure it is also an age thing where he's testing his boundaries and stuff. But that was
really making you work for it.
He really is. I'm like, oh, God bless you. Well, I need a break.
Yeah. I need a breather.
Tagging out. Somebody else come take care of this kid for 2 minutes. So, But that was my mama moment of the week. I know, like, my last two have been about my sassy little boy, but
I think like 80% of yours are about Joe saying something
Yes.
sassy, which is totally fine because they're hilarious.
And I say to Dan, I'm like, you know what? It really super irritates me when he says stuff, and then Dan will start to talk, and I'm like, wait, let me finish what I'm saying. And it's like, I know that he sounds like me, okay?
That's the problem.
I don't want to deal with me, okay? A, because it's irritating, and B, a lot of the stuff is funny. I mean, he's not wrong.
It's true. It's for sure true.
So, yep, that was my mom moment of the week. We'll get back to talking to you guys about our topic of the week in just a moment.
Welcome back.
Yes. So, we are going to be talking today about manners with our kids. So I actually was thinking about this week because Joe, when he was little, one day, and I remember this very specifically, Brittany had just had Everly. So we went up to the hospital to see her and the baby, and the room was kind of full with other people. God bless Brittany. I mean, like, it was packed full of people, and
yeah, and she was totally fine.
She's just totally handling it. And
remember, Brittany's the like mom goals mom that we know.
The perfect mom, yeah. The mom we want to be. And Joe was, I mean, he had to have been less than 2. I think he was like 18 months at the time. So he was just walking and everything. And he was going around, and I could tell that he was getting hungry. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I forgot to pack a snack in his diaper bag. Because, after a year and a half of doing it, still forget to do it. And Brittany's like, oh, well, I have some crackers right here.
Of course you do.
Right, exactly.
Of course you do, Mom, who just gave birth. Help me.
She has bailed me out on more than one occasion. But so she opens up the package and she gives Joe a cracker, and that little sweet voice, he said, thank you. And I was like,
glowing.
Oh my God, look at me, everybody. Number one parent right here. My boy just said thank you, unassisted, without needing to be reminded. I've never said to him at that point that you have to say thank you. It was just saying those type of things to him. And so what made me think about it, though, is that now we're at 4, like he was saying, please and thank you and all that good stuff. Now we're at 4.5, and it just has turned into outright demands. I'm like, wait a minute, where did I go wrong in my parenting? But I have also, I am kind of on the borderline of he just talks to his dad and I that way.
Yeah.
And because when I talked to his Sunday school teachers, or when we took him out trick-or-treating last year, we allowed him the independence of walking. Because it was COVID, so we were trying to give everybody their space. But we would sit at the end of the driveway and let him walk up, and I'd be shouting, the mom shout, make sure you say thank you. And all these moms are like, he's so cute, he already said it. So I do think he remembers it when he's with other people. It's just easier to forget. So I was thinking about it this week. And I was looking it up and and really, I mean, we're not doing this wrong. I mean,
it's hard to have a right way to do something like that.
Right. This article that I had found that really kind of, well, maybe I'm not gonna lie, I probably looked for an article that closely reflects what I do.
Wanted it to fit your narrative.
Why not, right?
That's how research works, though.
Right.
All of the research. It doesn't matter if you're teaching your kids manners or doing some sort of biomedical thing about whether or not gremlins live in the sewers. Right. You're going to find something that fits your narrative. We all do it.
Right. So Basically, it's 11 tips to teach your kids manners, and they're talking about modeling manners, practice at home, take them out in public. Oh, and I'm going to say there's one thing that I do appreciate about COVID, and that it has created the drive up service for more places than just Target. More places are offering it for free because I'm cheap and I don't want to pay $10 to drive up it.
It's super nice though,
But
for sure. I mean, I've never done it.
The fact that I don't have to get out of my car and then get my son out of the car, drag him into the store, get everything, and then do the whole process of getting him back into the car. Because as you heard last week's story, getting him into the car is a trial sometimes. But take them out into public, give him or her the words that you want to hear them using. Give your youngster positive reinforcement. And again, that's hard for me because just do it because that's the right way.
Right? Because I said so.
Right. And then here's the one thing that I fail at: be patient, right? It's like, come on, you're 4.5. I know you can say please to me. And then learn to coach, teach table manners. And I'm going to side note this. We're terrible about table manners.
So are we.
I'm really working on it just because I know at some point we're going to go back out into society and eat in a restaurant again.
My boys eat like animals.
Yeah.
Like, for sure. It's just, I mean, Malcolm's better than John, but John like will literally lift up his plate and lick it.
Excuse me. No, see, I get embarrassed because Joe will sit on the table half of his meal and just dish the food, and I'm like, can you please? But sometimes it's just like, I've argued with you all day,
right?
Just so,
choose your battles.
Right? So it's do teach your kids table manners. If you do have to correct them right on the spot. Don't come back and later. But
they have short memories.
Speak well. And that's just I'll say what they said. Speech habits are so important. Often parents may sabotage their children's speech patterns by using language they don't want their children to mimic. Again, this is an area in which you need to model the correct behavior. Unless you want your child to speak in a sloppy, slang-ridden way, be well-spoken yourself. And that is hard for me too, because as an adult, I feel like we've earned the right to talk our slang and stuff at home, right? Because we know when we're in a public space with other people how to adjust ourselves, right? So so to me that was like, mind your own business. And then the other one that they had was lose the prejudices. So it's your children are going to model your biases. If you hold strong opinions about a particular group or person, you should not make this as a public point. And with COVID and Joe getting older, that's something that we really had to tamp down. And I know we've discussed this before.
A political opinion.
I had to cut off some family members from talking about stuff. I had to stop talking about stuff. I mean, even like you said, I think it was either last week or the week before where you were saying John really gets worried about people getting COVID
and dying
just because that's what they're surrounded with. Yeah. And so just being careful of how you present. And we have gotten to the point at this point where if we need to discuss someone in particular, we spell out names and certain words. But I know at some point we're going to have to think of some other code because he's already way smarter than what I need him to be.
Yeah, it doesn't last forever. It lasts a lot shorter than I would like it to.
So those are kind of the tips. And like I said, a lot of this I feel like I do. So it kind of encouraged me that maybe I'm not such a terrible mom that my kid doesn't say please and thank you. And then I think part of it is he's pushing boundaries as well. So how about you? How do you teach manners? Or do you worry about teaching your kids manners?
So thank you's a big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Saying please and thank you. My biggest struggle with that is when they get gifts.
Yes.
It's like sometimes they're not very grateful, and they don't say thank you, or like they don't like their gift, and I'm just like, you say thank you.
Be appreciative.
I'll throw it in the garbage. But I mean, we go through drive-throughs or whatever, and Malcolm will roll down his window in the back and be like, thank you. I mean, John's always been pretty polite with please and thank you and whatever, but as John is getting older, he's getting more sassy, and he's being very selective about his manners. And I think it's one of those things, my feelings about it are like, I can correct him, but it's really like raise the child as you want them to be, and they'll come back and figure out their life when they get their life together. Because I'm just like, I mean, he knows to say please and thank you.
Mm-hmm.
He knows to say excuse me. So, I mean, I definitely try and correct him when I catch it, but like, I mean, I'm not always there.
Right.
My big thing right now is teaching the boys to open the doors for grown-ups, women or whatever. Like, it's really funny because I know that we're like in this very like strong feminist mentality everywhere, where like men don't have to open doors for women. But
I disagree, by the way.
Yeah.
Call me old school.
Well, and it's one of those things where it's just like, I mean, I'm just going to teach my boys to open the doors for women. It's just going to be something that I teach. So like, I for sure that's the thing that I've been teaching John. Cause I mean, he's 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
He's almost 7.5. So he's at the age where I feel like these are the times when I have to be teaching like those sorts of things. Like he should have the please and thank you down. But opening doors or like
general courtesy.
Yeah, like if we're somewhere and he's getting up to throw something in the garbage, he needs to ask, like, does anybody have anything that needs to go in the garbage? Mm-hmm. So I feel like I really truly feel like the please and the thank yous are the easy part.
Okay.
Because it's like, it's almost like a habit. Mm-hmm. It's like saying I love you before you hang up the phone.
Right.
Like, how many times do you almost say I love you to the wrong person?
Right. Well, I have said it to the wrong person.
Exactly. Like your boss or something. All right, thanks, I love you, bye. And you're like, ugh.
Wait,
I mean, it's fine. I'll just pretend that didn't happen. So the please and the thank yous and whatever, like with John, I feel like should just be automatic. They should just be a reflex. Mm-hmm. I'm still actively teaching them to like Raylan, Malcolm, because they're still little.
Little. Yep.
Mm-hmm. But it's more of the like lifestyle manners that I'm struggling with. Like, how do you teach those sorts of things, and what is too much? And like, because like if you really think about it, so Joe's gonna be 5.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do you kind of step back from the please and thank you? What are the next manners that you're going to teach him? Because it's a lifestyle of being mm-hmm. having manners and being gracious, and I feel like once you get past the please and thank you, there's very few things that like there's not a lot of guidance. I feel like
I think it comes down to a lot of like one of the first tips is modeling.
Yeah. I'm just so lazy though.
But it's right.
I don't want to throw away other people's garbage.
I think, though, Melissa, that you probably do it much like your gratitude, because we've had this discussion how you really hate expressing gratitude, but you're really actually very good about it. I think that you probably do it
like just out of habit.
Just out of habit.
Sure.
Like I said to Joe yesterday, I had my hands full of Amazon packages. And he had come running out to see what I was grabbing. So I asked him, I said, can you open the door and hold it open for Mama? And so he opened the door, but then he walked in and just let the door close. And here I am, like, having to juggle. But right away, I said to him, and Dan's like, he's a little young, isn't he? And I'm like, I don't
think
know.
so.
So I said to him, I said, hey, Joe, it's really a nice thing to do when a lady has a full hands to open up the door and hold it for her. I said, in fact, it's always nice to open a door and hold it open for a lady. And he just kind of looked at me, but I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to start reinforcing this stuff now, because I'd rather have him treat somebody with respect
and kindness
right
early. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Or somebody's going to be like, oh, you're such a good mom to treat him. Yes, I am.
So, and then I have been trying to, like, actively, because as we've talked about, we're not out in public as much. So I have been trying to actively find times where I can communicate with someone that I'm trying to help them. Like, I'm going to give you 2 instances. My husband's not a terrible person.
I love when we start stories this way.
We were at Costco and we were walking out, and this guy had given his little girl his membership card. And she dropped it on the ground, and then she just went twirling off, because we were
as
all
little girls do,
right, checking out. And Dan's back hurt, so I'm going to disclaimer that's why he didn't bend down. But so he tapped the guy on the back, and he's like, hey, your card dropped. Well, I saw it too, and I immediately just went down and picked it up and there was a whole sloppy mess of me dropping the card like 3 times. Oh my God, can I just not do this right? It was so embarrassing. I'm like, I'm trying to be a good model here, but I'm just making myself look like a fool at this point, because the guy's like trying to take the card from me, and I just kept dropping it. I'm like, I'm done with this. But anyway,
pick up your own card.
But I said to Dan, I'm like, and I said to him at the time, I'm like, why didn't you just pick it up instead of? And he said, Michelle, my back just hurts so bad. I'm like, all right, well, why don't you just say, hey, Joe, or hey, Michelle, can you pick that up, or whatever? I did not discuss this in front of Joe. And he's like, I don't know, I just didn't think about it. So I'm trying to find instances like that. And then, like, we went to the park, and there was this little girl there again, and she was like, I'm thinking she's probably maybe like 6 months younger than Joe, but her personality was totally Joe. You could just see it right from the beginning. Like, the stuff that she said, like, she ran up to Joe and she's like, hi, do you want to play with me? And they went off playing, and some of the stuff she would yell out, Dan and I are like, oh my God, that's so Joe. But when it was time to leave, the mom, she had a newborn in the car, in the little car seat, and so she was trying to juggle, and she was trying to get the little girl to go, and she was doing the whole Joe doesn't want to leave the park thing. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, oh Mom, I feel you so much right now. But she had gotten her to the car, and the little girl took off because she's trying to balance the baby in the car seat, and we're at
murder in my eyes,
right?
There's
and it's a parking lot, right? And my heart fails when Joe just shoots off in a parking lot, because
there's cars,
and some people don't pay attention, driving around, and some people think it's a racetrack, and so I felt my heart give, and at that point we had already started walking towards that way anyway. I saw a mask on the ground, and I said, hey, Dan, I think that's the little girl's. And he goes, yeah. And I said, I'm going to give it to her. So I picked it up and walked towards her, and I didn't want to, because I am so not confident about making new friendships or like engaging people I don't know. But I handed it to her, and she said thank you, and she's like trying to juggle everything. But I intentionally, because I thought Joe's watching this, so I intentionally looked at her and said, would you like me to help you carry like your diaper bag or something to the car? Because the little girl's like on the ground flailing. Like, I'm like, I didn't say I've been there, but I just knew like the harassment that was on her face, that she was just ready to die. And so it took a lot for me to say that, but I thought I want that for Joe. I want him to see that there's people, if someone's struggling with something, and it's
Just be nice.
Just be nice. Ask, does somebody need help? And I think that that's something that we've kind of lost as a society, not even just because of 2020 or COVID, but I think it's something that
we're all just crappy humans in general,
right? had started to fall off. And so if I can teach that to my little guy, because I've received help from random strangers before, probably I'm maybe a little too trusting with random strangers helping me, but my dad's like, how are you not dead yet? But I think that that's what I want, not just for myself, but I want that for Joe as well. I want that to be part of my legacy, is that he's a helper.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you. It's the lifestyle things.
I for sure, though, like, we've been places and I've either asked to help other moms or I've just like done it.
Yeah.
But like, that's my personality, where I
Right.
just barrel through life and don't have healthy boundaries. So like me, I would just like, if a mom was struggling, like I've been at the park before where like a mom's struggling and I just like literally walk over and I grab her bags. I'm just like, I'll follow you. Like, just go. Mm-hmm. Or like, you know, I've been in a situation where like the toddler runs away in the grocery store and the baby's in the cart and like there's stuff, and I'll just like walk up to the cart and I'm just like, I have the cart, just go get the toddler.
Capture.
Yeah. And I guess those, it's kind of funny because I'm sitting here like, I guess those are manners.
Yeah.
I guess I do teach them manners in like passive ways that I don't like actively think of I'm doing. But like, I mean, you know, we've been in, I mean, obviously not lately, but like, you know, we've been in McDonald's before and Michael walk up to a table of old people and be like, can I throw away your garbage? You know, just randomly like at McDonald's or whatever. So it's just like, I for sure think that we probably are better people than I think we are.
That's how it always comes down to, right? I really am a decent person.
Right? But like, and I know I've talked about it before of saying please and thank you when somebody checks us out at the gas station or whatever. That's always a really important thing to me because I spent so much time working in retail and kids are just jerks. Mm-hmm. And their parents most of the time just don't care. And it's just like, I will not have those douchebag children who every time they come in, like, oh, I remember I used to manage a gas station. Mm-hmm. And we had these kids who would come in twice a week, Tuesday and Thursday nights, and they would come in and tear all the cups out of the cup dispensers. And now, so we had 3 different size coffee cups in 2 different dispenser areas and 3 different size soda cups.
Yeah.
Okay, well, once you take the cups out, they have to go in the garbage, and they would take out all of the cups.
Right.
So we're talking about like,
it's a huge money
200 cups.
Yeah.
Just because you can't
twice a week
can't control your children.
Right.
No, so we started getting to the point where like they would walk in and we would just take out all of the cups. Yeah, we were hip to their jive.
Were they coming in with their parents? So like,
yeah, with their mom
saw this happening, and
yeah,
oh my God,
their mom was. It was like a younger mom. She had like 3 or 4 boys, and I understand. Like I'm a boy mom. You know, I understand boys
they
can be
exhaust
just like,
you, yes.
But like, why are you coming in here?
Right.
Like, quite obviously, you're not coming in here for anything that is dire necessity to where it validates this behavior.
Right.
Because there have been times where like we needed milk or we needed like medicine or something, and the kids are just acting like maniacs and they're totally being terrorists. And I don't care because I'm just like, I need milk. Mm-hmm. Or like we need something.
This item, yep.
So like you're gonna listen to my kid yell because this is pre-COVID and you couldn't just, have everything delivered to your door.
Right.
Now it's just like 3 a.m. I'm just like, I go on to DoorDash. I'm just like, I need children's Tylenol.
Right.
It'll be here in an hour.
It's
like
true.
I'll take that. But before that just wasn't the case, and I just refuse for my kids to be those kids that everybody dreads, walking into a store or whatever. But I think that the biggest manners I think that I struggle with teaching the boys especially is like I think it's really important to always say like please and thank you and like have those sorts of manners, but I struggle a lot with like overly apologetic mentality.
Me. She struggles with me.
But like I have verbally and mentally, I'm sure my teenager would tell you, beat it out of my teenager because like when she was like 14, she apologized for everything. We were actually just talking about this last night because she started making some new friends and they're like apologize for everything. And she's like, they just apologize for everything. I'm like, oh, is it annoying to you? Is that annoying? And so we were talking about it and we were going over like how they were apologizing for nothing. And I'm just like, I know, like it, and because I know maybe it's just a Midwest thing. I don't know. But we apologize for everything.
Everything.
We literally apologize for being in a room with somebody if it at all inconveniences them. And I don't want to raise my kids to do that. So like they do not say they are sorry unless they did something wrong.
Right. Because
I feel like that's a manner that for some reason we accept it as it definitely is more females than males. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not even going to pretend that that's not a thing because it totally is. But like my daughter is not going to like Belinda will be walking down an aisle. Somebody will walk into her and she will apologize to them. I'm like, what are you apologizing for? Well, I was in their way. I'm like, really? Because I'm pretty sure
they walked into you. I do the same thing though. I would apologize as well.
No, that's not. No.
I feel like we're gonna have a discussion after this. I'm gonna be mommed.
Like, so I catch my boys, like they'll apologize for things and I'm just like, what are you sorry for? So it's like, I'm almost like I'm making them validate their manners. So I'm hoping that like by that they understand like what context, like I promise I'm not a bad mom, but like I'm hoping that by doing that they'll understand the context of like where manners are needed and what's appropriate.
Where an apology is needed, especially.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Because being an apologetic person in an appropriate manner is a very big part of having manners. And I think that like if you walk into somebody, you should for sure say you're sorry. And you should, give some sort of explanation of like, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention or, whatever. But like, if somebody walks into you, like you shouldn't be apologizing to them. And it's really hard for me because it's such like a hot button issue for me that I feel like sometimes I'm teaching the boys bad manners.
I'm going to disagree with you. You are not. Because I do think that we apologize too much to the point of devaluing an apology.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's sometimes though, like I'll say, a friend of mine, she came up to me and we were like in a group setting and she's like, so I've kind of been just walking around like low-key asking people if they want to like continue with the activity or if they want to leave. And I just like stand in the middle of the room. I'm like, hey, everybody. do we want to continue the activity or do we just want to like call it a night and be done? And they're like, well, you didn't continue the activity. And I looked at her, I was like, sorry, I just figured it was more effective. And I'm like, actually, I'm not sorry.
Right.
I'm not sorry. I don't know why I said that. And she's like, why do you always like apologize and then take it back? I'm just like, because I don't have anything to be sorry for.
Right. I don't disagree with your logic on the I'm sorry, because I do say I'm sorry a lot, and I think that it would be better there's just some things I don't need to apologize for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And it's teaching the correct way to do it. But I did think this the other day, because I said to Joe, when he was being sassy, I'm like, you don't talk to mama that way. What do you think you should say? And it's, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Wait, so why are you sorry? So I do double back with the why are you sorry? Because I want to make sure that he's not just saying that I'm sorry just
to pacify
me.
Well, and I do that a lot of times with like, even sometimes with thank you or with please. Like, they'll just be like, can I please have blah, blah, blah? And I'll be like, okay, so, you know, I try and, while I think it's important for it to be a knee-jerk reaction and just like a natural habit, I also think it's important for them to understand why they're doing it.
Right.
Which
you're not a bad mom at all.
Yeah.
You're pretty amazing. You're a pretty amazing mom.
Yeah. I know. I'm so fantastic. I give my kids root beer.
It's all right. I give mine Sprite. So.
I feel like it brings me down on the rung every time. It's totally fine. But no, I think that manners are definitely something that I think are just more passively learned, especially when they get past the age of like 5. Because before that, it's just a habit of like, I give you something, you say thank you, or you ask for something, you say please, or, you know, I say thank you to you, you say you're welcome, or vice versa. Although there have definitely been times that like my kid will say thank you to an adult, and I'm just like, what do you say to the adult? Because I'm just like, did you not hear them say thank you? And they're just like, oh, you're welcome. And I'm just like,
right.
We say you're welcome in this house.
You're going to hit a hot button on me. Well, we've already kind of discussed how some adults just,
especially like strangers,
right, ignore
your
kid trying to engage them, and it's super irritating to me that there are so many adults out there that want kids to act better, but they're not willing to put any effort into,
or they want them to be seen and not heard.
Right.
Yeah, I have a problem with that mentality as well. It's one of those things where I'm just like, you're a crappy human. Right.
I'm totally judging you right now. Can you see it in my eyes?
Because you can't see my mouth.
See, you're definitely bolder than me. I would say before Joe, I was a little more bold.
Yeah.
Than what I am now with Joe. I think I overthink everything now. And it takes me too long to, where before I would have been that person at a party like, hey, everybody. We need to know, you want to go or you want to stay?
You do need to know. Like, we're going to walk around and ask 50 people individually.
Take 2 hours to do this. So I think that I've kind of dialed back a little. And it's so weird that and I don't know if that comes from being at home more versus having like a job and having to be in charge of people and stuff, or if it's just.
Do you think it's because you want people to like Joe, so you don't want to step on toes?
Probably.
Because I feel like that's almost always what I hear people say, is they're just like, well, I just want to make sure that people like my kid. And I'm just like, I want to make sure people like my kid too. I want to make sure my kids have friends.
I want to make sure they respect them too, though.
But I also just don't want them to be like barreled over and railroaded through life. And I guess I kind of am lucky because I'm just like, if nobody likes my kid, they have each other and they have their cousins, and there's like certain people that I'm just like, they have these people. So even if everybody hates them everywhere else, it's just like, it's okay. They have friends. They'll have friends. So, and I think because of that, I'm more okay, because I am a very polite person, but I am a very bold and blunt person as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll say thank you. I might say, like, I was on the phone with the doctor's office one day, and they were just like being rude about something, and I was just like, thank you, I'm so excited to be able to talk to you about this, since you were just super
A
rude to
little
me.
bit of sarcasm, yeah.
So it's just like, I mean, that's probably not the best manners to teach them, but I don't know, there's definitely a fine line as they're growing up that I find with manners, because manners to me, they're just important,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also important for people to show them manners as well.
I agree. Not just us.
Exactly.
You want my kid to treat you with respect, you need to respect them.
Yeah, because I've definitely, like, if they've given somebody something, even to a grown-up, and I've heard John say, like, what do you say? And, like, the adult looks at me like, just like, that was really rude, and I'm just like,
No, you were rude to not say it, right?
No, that wasn't rude.
Right.
That was definitely the way that should have, how it should have went down? You should have just said thank you.
Right.
First. My 5-year-old shouldn't have had to ask you to say thank you.
Right.
So I think that, I don't know, I'm just raising a bunch of, like, super sassy, sarcastic children.
No. I agree, because there's a part of me, and as you were talking, I was sitting there thinking, I know that some of it has to do with Dan, because Dan is a very passive person. He'll let someone steamroll right over him and then, like, later complain about it, like, all day long.
Yeah.
Where I used to be like that person of, like, oh, let's have it out right here.
Yeah.
We're gonna
address this.
We're gonna be clear.
We're gonna have the awkward conversation right now.
And so I think I have tampered back just a little, just because we've been together so long that some of that has. But I did say to him, and I'll give you an instance. Look, last year, I think it was in the fall-ish time, we went to the park, and of course it's COVID time and all of that, and so we were there, and there was another couple there. You could tell that they were just making friends. Like, they had arranged a play date for their kids to play, and they were standing there. So it was the two guys, the two women. They were sitting there laughing and having fun. And two of the boys had masks. Judge me if you want. I don't make Joe wear a mask on the playground, because you're outdoors. I get it. They're on a play structure. Maybe they're close, but it's hot. I mean, the kid sweats like nothing. So judge me.
I don't judge you.
And so, but the two of the kids had masks tied around their neck, but they were hanging down. Well, Joe started to play with all of them, and they were playing chase and tag. And I mean, it was a group effort. They were all playing. But Joe started chasing one of the boys that had the mask that was just hanging down, and the kid ran back behind his mom to hide, and Joe ran up to her and was trying to chase him around, and she stopped Joe with her hand, and she said, "No, you can't." She says, "You need to keep your distance. We maybe shouldn't be playing this game." And
I don't know if you can hear my eye roll.
So I'm going to disclaimer, I totally respect if you wear masks. I, for the most part, wear masks wherever we go, and I don't have an issue with it. But if you're going to wear them, wear them. If you're not, then don't have an issue with, but
you can't be situationally strict.
Right. Yes.
Yep.
Be consistent. And so, I mean, if it was that much of an issue, why did the kids not have their masks on? They were just, so that was my issue. Not that she wanted distance or anything. It was that it, like, as you said, situational. Well, Dan was with me, and when she said that, I actually started to stand up, because I was gonna go over there and have a discussion with her, because I thought it was completely ridiculous. She totally disrespected Joe in that moment. they were all playing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, her kids were totally involved in that. And so it hurt my heart to watch Joe's face just kind of go from happy go lucky to crumbled. Like, what did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And and so I stood up, and like Dan did like the old car, you're not wearing a seatbelt, like slam across my body. He's like, just let him handle it. And I'm like, so I think that's where I struggle, because I am a confrontational person in that
by nature.
Yeah, I bring it on. You want to disrespect me, you want to disrespect somebody I love, we'll have this conversation. And Dan is not so much. So I think maybe that's, but I do want people to like Joe as well.
Yeah, see, I think that Mike and I are just so like, we're two blunt people. Mm-hmm. So I think that we definitely have to model how to be blunt in appropriate fashions ways, right, with our kids. Because, I mean, in that situation, I don't know that I would have said anything, because it's such a weird time.
It is.
And it's just like, I mean, I can go over there and be like, I mean, if your kids aren't going to wear masks,
don't have a problem with it.
Then you can't have a problem with it. Right. Otherwise, like, you're just...
And that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's such a weird... I don't know. Because, like, if it was not a weird time, like, and that happened, like, they don't want to play with you right now. I'd be like, actually, they were playing fine. Your kid needs to, like, not run behind you to hide. And, like, right, they're playing a game.
They wouldn't have been in close contact.
Yeah.
If your kid hadn't run
exactly
behind you.
So, yeah, no, I definitely think that when it comes to adult-child interactions, manners are so much more, like, finicky. Because it's like, on one hand, you want to teach them respect. Like, you respect your elders, you respect adults, but at the same time, it's like...
You want to teach them to not get stepped on.
Exactly. It's hard.
It is.
Being a parent's rough.
It sure is. I need a coffee or something. I feel the frustration. So yeah, that's our talk on manners. So
yeah.
Let's talk about recommendations. What's your recommendation for this week?
My recommendation for this week is so it's actually something that my husband does with my son. And it's like a very specific recommendation, so it's going to sound kind of silly. But Mike and John make burgers together. And when I mean they make burgers, I mean like they wash their hands and they like stick their hands in the meat and they pour all the things in, and John gets to like make all the food, make all the burgers and put it in the oven, and then just like he gets so proud of what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Mike obviously does a better job at this than I do, because me, I'm just like, they're making a mess. They're getting it everywhere.
I'm gonna have to clean this all. Yes, Skylar's so much better about that.
And he's just not. He just lets them make a mess. He lets them stick his hands in it. He lets them, it might be disgusting. We don't know, because he literally just goes, here are the spices I want you to use. I'll stand here, but you can shake to your heart's content.
Oh, God bless Mike.
And I mean, John has gotten to the point where like his burgers are like good.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just the proudest little guy as he makes them. And it's just...
That's so sweet.
And I guess my recommendation is, if you want your kids to learn something, like I want my boys to be able to cook.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want them to cook now.
Right.
So I'm just like...
I understand the struggle.
So I would say that my recommendation of the week is to maybe one time a week, maybe one time a month, make a meal that your kids can help you make. Like my mom, when we were younger, we used to take like English muffins and we used to make pizzas on them.
We did that with bagels.
Yeah. Yeah. And like it was an easy thing that we could do. That was like we were basically making our dinner and then we would like put it in the broiler or whatever. I think we had a toaster oven back then. And yeah, I think it's to just stop and take like the extra 10 minutes it's going to take you to, have them help you
Or even just let them stir the macaroni. I mean, my goodness.
But they get it all over the stove.
Right.
And like, I am right there with you, where it's just like,
I'm going to have so much to clean up.
I just don't want to.
Yes.
They always want to help me make like the eggs when I make scrambled eggs. And I'm just like, no, I don't want you to help.
Joe does this thing when he does scrambled, when he cracks the eggs. Because I do try. I make the effort. But like, he does just the soft tap and then wants to stick his finger into it. And then there's like shell everywhere. And
yep.
And egg slime everywhere.
And I'm just like, now I have to fish out these stupid eggshells. Was this helpful though? Did you help me? Because I don't feel like I was just helped.
I feel stressed out now.
Over eggshells. Like, what is this life?
That's a good recommendation, though. It's something that I try to do, and I should do it more because that is. I agree. Even like with cleaning and stuff, I get super annoyed at how much he has to spray out before he'll like dust.
Yeah, they'll use like half a bottle of Windex to clean the mirror.
It's like, oh my god.
But they're cleaning the mirror.
Give it to me. I'm going to do this. So I struggle with that mentality in a big way because I do want him to be helpful, but it's like,
I want you to be helpful in my parameters of being helpful. Let me micromanage your helpfulness. And I'm the same way, so like I totally get it.
So I appreciate that recommendation. All right, so my recommendation for this week is, I know we discussed last week my issue with slime. So my husband stayed home last week, Friday night, as a surprise to us. And I said to him, hey, do you want to do slime with us? And he's like, sure, let's
of course
do
he
it.
was.
Yeah, right.
Of course we do.
And it was not as terrible as I thought it. I'm going to tell you, I did have like an anxiety moment because there was a point where there was slime that was starting to like drip off the table and stuff. But it was not as terrible as I thought it was going to be. It was helpful to have Dan there just because Joe is a grabby, impatient person. And so like he'll start dumping stuff before I have time to measure it out. So it was a little easier to have him there, but my recommendation is maybe that thing that you thought was going to be super hard or super terrible, try it. I know it's
That's
kind
a
of
good
a
recommendation,
lame one,
though.
It kind of goes along the lines of letting your kid cook, though, right?
It definitely does. We had similar experiences this week.
Just try it.
It's not going to be as horrible as you thought. And even if it is as horrible as you thought, like, I mean,
it's a learning
how
experience.
long does it really take to clean things up?
So, yeah, that was my recommendation for the week. So I think that's all we have for today.
So you can find us on Facebook at
Messy Bun Mamas Podcast.
And Instagram at
Messy Bun Mamas Podcast.
And LinkedIn at
Messy Bun Mamas Podcast.
At Twitter at
Bun_podcast.
And we also have a website that is www.messybunmamaspodcast.com.
Mm-hmm. And we're also on Pinterest as well.
Oh yeah, we're on Pinterest. I always forget Pinterest. We're on Pinterest and Patreon, and yeah, we're all over the place.
We're trying to cover all the.
We're covering all your social media bases.
We're not at least I'm not on Snapchat yet. I'm not that cool, so
we're too old for Snapchat.
We are.
We say as we offend some of our listeners.
Right. It's not that we're not cool. We're just too old for it, apparently.
So hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time.
Have a great week.
Bye.
I am Messy Podcast.
This is Messy Bun Mama's podcast.
This is Messy Poop.
Messy buns, you silly.